Do you remember Cocaine Chic?
Yes. Who was it? Which model was the one? Was it Kate Moss?
Yeah,
Like in
that
like back in the day, like the thin pin straight hair, like
yeah,
wavy body.
like cigarettes,
cigarette
like
and yeah.
black eyes, yeah.
Mhm.
So nothing says, peak 90s fashion, like glamorizing malnourishment, really.
Mhm.
And it was this whole aesthetic of, as you said, the hollow cheeks, the visible ribs, the eyeliner that looked like you hadn't slept in 3 days, which, probably some of them haven't.
Cocaine chic turned disordered eating into trend
Mhm.
that marketed self-destruction and high fashion. And I remember being like, I don't know, 16, and I would gauge like if I felt like I needed to lose weight based on whether or not I could see my collarbones. Welcome to The Scaries, brought to you by RaiseHER Co. I'm Sky.
And I'm Talitha. We are proudly broadcasting from Treaty 4 territory and the homeland of the Métis. In each episode, we tackle the alarming, inconceivable, questionable, shocking, and scary statistics relating to, impacting, and intervening with the lives of women and girls worldwide.
You'll hear the scary truth, take away tools and tips, and learn about what you can do about it. And The Scaries is an opportunity to raise awareness, share resources, and collectively use our power as women and supporters of women to make real change. As always, we'd like to note that the opinions and views expressed on this podcast are solely our own and for entertainment purposes only. And some of what we share could be triggering to you, so please listen with caution.
As straight, cisgender, white, able-bodied settler women, we are very aware of the privileges that we have, and we want to use this platform to spread awareness about the scary reality that women and girls face from around the world in different life situations.
Now, why?
Because sometimes nothing is scarier than being a woman. But we've covered a lot of terrifying stuff on this podcast.
Mhm.
Gender-based
Unfortunately.
violence. Yeah. It's a good time to come in here.
Yeah.
Gender-based violence, feminine equity, financial barriers.
Today is equally as terrifying. We're talking about something that shaped a lot of us, especially us, about how our whole generation saw our bodies and grew up to think about, as a result, our worth and our value in this world. It shaped how we ate, how we dressed, how we talked to ourselves in the mirror, and really, again, our self-worth and how important we are. We're talking about the 90s and the early 2000s and all of that growing up millennial diet culture and how it's honestly messed us up. And you'll learn more about how.
And we'll probably unpack how we're still dealing with it.
Exactly. Yes.
If you are a millennial, you'll know you lived through it. The fat-free everything and the endless before and after ads and the weird celebrity detoxes that, are still popping up all the time. The pastel-colored protein bars with names like Slim Delight 100. We were sold thinness as a lifestyle, a moral compass, and a prerequisite for being lovable.
And it wasn't just about food. It was everywhere. Those magazines, teen magazine, YM magazine. Remember YM? The commercials, the makeover shows, like Extreme Makeover. Remember that?
Even just like every episode, there was always like makeover episodes on like Oprah and like Maury.
Yeah, Maury. Yeah, and like The Biggest Loser. Like it wasn't just, we're going to lose weight, but we're going to like make you over too. So it was a whole thing. All of those things equated to a full-on mental health diagnosis, honestly. And the worst of all was that this was normal.
Super
this
normal.
was everywhere we looked. It wasn't for everyone, but our moms kind of sometimes got into it too. Maybe even grandmas. Like this was what we were seeing everywhere we looked. Like something you were just supposed to participate in if you were a girl.
Yeah, very true. Do you remember Cocaine Chic? Like a name?
Who was it? Which model was the one? It wasn't cocaine. Well, maybe. Was it Kate Moss?
Yeah,
like back in the day, like the thin pin straight hair, like wavy body.
Like cigarettes.
Yeah,
like
and
black eyes. Yeah. So nothing says, peak 90s fashion really. Like it was Kate Moss who coined that. Or I think they coined it about her, like glamorizing malnourishment, really. And it was this whole aesthetic of, as you said, the hollow cheeks, the visible ribs, the eyeliner that looked like you hadn't slept in 3 days, which, probably some of them haven't. But I feel like I knew actually what cocaine chic was before I like understood what cocaine was. That's just kind of, in your vocabulary.
Totally. That cocaine chic turned disordered eating into trend that marketed self-destruction and high fashion. And I actually remember as a kid, and this is kind of scary, but now that I say it out loud, but I remember being like, I don't know, 16, and I would gauge like if I felt like I needed to lose weight based on whether or not I could see my collarbones.
Oh my
Like I would like
goodness.
do this.
Yeah.
And I would be like, okay, can I see them? Not right now, not quite.
No, I'm like, I don't think I've been able to see my collarbones.
Yeah. And so full on
Yeah.
self-destruction. Yeah.
Totally. This episode is about unearthing kind of the root of all of that. And not probably for Skylar and I individually. That's going to take a little bit more time, but not in just what just happened, but why it happened and kind of the background effects and looking into that, because this wasn't an accidental trend. Diet culture is a very carefully constructed system built on patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, and colonial ideals of control. I know that you think we think all of those things control everything,
Common theme.
but it's there for a reason. It's a system that continues to morph and adapt, just like the products that it pushes. And diet control is very sneaky. It's very profitable, and it is deeply harmful. And unless we know where it came from, we can't really fully dismantle it.
So today we're going to talk about the pop culture history, the Kate Moss quote we all internalized, the Special K challenge, the rise of celebrity workout tapes, and the science behind what it all did to our brains and our bodies, what it's still doing maybe.
Yeah.
We'll look at how these trends didn't just target women broadly, but hit especially hard for racialized, fat, and disabled folks.
Yeah, it's especially, yeah, you can call people are fat. It's just,
okay.
Yep.
Can I say that word?
You're allowed to say fat. Fat is just fat. You've weaponized it. Then
okay.
Yeah.
Good. I guess I got to change that in my brain.
Yeah.
And disabled
fat.
folks.
Yeah, and disabled folks.
I've been saying like thick, or like maybe because me, it's like it's a
trigger
wound. Yeah, it's not a nice word to me, but
yeah.
Anyway.
If you weaponize a word, a pejorative, then you then it gives it meaning. But fat is just fat. Like yeah.
True. I mean, it is an actual part of our body. We have to have fat.
Yeah.
So there's fat on everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Okay.
Look at us.
Learning something new, growing as we
learning alongside all of our listeners.
But yes, especially for those who are from marginalized groups or fat or disabled, this hit them harder.
Yeah. And we want to be real, and obviously this one is personal for us. Uncovering a couple of unhealed wounds. We both grew up very into this culture, and we both absorbed the messaging, as I'm sure many of you have, and we both in different ways are very much so still unlearning it.
Yes. We also have amazing guests joining us that I am really excited about. Her name is Erika Tkatchuk. She's a fitness professional, an entrepreneur, an inventor, and most importantly, she's someone who made it her mission to help people build healthy relationships with their bodies outside of diet culture.
Exactly. So if you've ever wondered why you still feel guilty eating carbs, or why just be healthy sounds like code for just be thinner, this one's for you.
Because rejecting diet culture isn't just about saying no to diets. It's about saying yes to bodily autonomy, to joy, to rest, to nourishment, and to the radical idea that your body is already enough. Because healing from diet culture isn't just about food, it's about liberation. It's about trusting our bodies again. It's about reclaiming joy.
Let's get into it.
Let's do
it. Okay, close your eyes and take yourself back. You're 13 years old, maybe younger. You're at a slumber party, wrapped in floral sleeping bag. You know, the one that like everyone had that was like floral on the inside, but also kind of like woodsy. And then, we had a couple of those anyways. Colorful on the outside. You're on someone's basement floor. You just finished watching a VHS. Maybe it was Clueless. Maybe it was Now and Then.
So good.
Probably something with high school drama and maybe some suspiciously thin adults pretending to be teens, perchance. And there's this glossy stack of teen magazines, or maybe not even teen magazines, maybe adult magazines that
Cosmo,
you got. I was going to say maybe you got a Cosmo. Reading the sexy stories in the back.
The red hot reads.
The red hot reads, yes. And so you have these magazines, and every headline screams some version of the same message, whether it's fix your body, shrink your body, tone it, starve it, change it, do it, whatever, until it behaves.
I mean, at 13, you're still trying to figure out how to spell metabolism. I think I'm still trying to figure out how to spell it. And you're already calculating, though, calories in your lunchbox. Maybe you tried skipping breakfast that week, or, you just wanted to see if your jeans would fit differently by Friday. It wasn't a phase. It was the water we were all swimming in.
Yeah, shark infested. The rules were unspoken, but very strict. You don't eat after 7 p.m., maybe. Maybe it's you avoid carbs like they are a character flaw. The word is the enemy. If you're going to be rotting your brain with TV, well, you should be doing some sit-ups in front of the TV. Don't just sit there and be stagnant. And if you're hungry, well, you're probably doing it right. That was the trifecta of 90s and early 2000s diet culture, that you restrict food, that you idolize thin women, and that you buy the products that promise to fix whatever puberty broke.
And those products didn't just promise to help you lose weight. They promised worthiness, control, popularity, boyfriend, prom dress that zipped all the way. What they actually delivered, though, was mostly dehydration, maybe some hunger-induced crankiness, and probably constipation, honestly.
And honestly, I still have all of those things without any of those products. So the thing that actually came along the most was shame. Lots and lots of shame. I actually saw a post the other day on Instagram by, and I don't know if it's at Reina Victoria. We'll share it in our notes, but that felt super relevant as we were preparing for this episode, and I pasted it in here in our show notes, and it said, for so many years I watched women constantly being forced fed the phrase, nothing tastes as oh my God. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Today on my TikTok, I saw a woman comment, nothing tastes as good as fighting misogyny and fascism with a side of French fries. And the world is healing, y'all. And I felt that. I was like, yeah, we are healing slowly but surely. But that is the thing that we heard all the time, that nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Totally.
And I was like, have you had fries?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
That quote was everywhere, honestly, growing up, everywhere you looked. And it was like a commandment almost. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, or something like beauty is pain. That's another thing I thought of the other day when I stepped into heels after a long time.
Yeah.
Why do I need to wear heels to be beautiful? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it really turns out that hunger doesn't feel that good. And neither does constantly measuring your worth in pounds or inches or thigh gaps or macros.
Yes. Here's the real kicker. This wasn't just about bad magazine advice or shady snack products. Diet culture is really a belief system. It taught us that our bodies were public property, that everyone else was allowed to have an opinion about our bodies, that smaller meant better, and that if we couldn't be thin, if we had at least to try forever.
And many of us are still unpacking that belief system, even decades later, clearly. It's in our language, our medical care, our group chats, our morning routines. And that's why this conversation matters so much, because unlearning isn't just possible, it's essential.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a sec, because diet culture didn't just show up one day in the 90s with a Slim Fast commercial. It has a history, and a pretty messed up one, actually.
Right? Where did this even come from? Who decided carbs and fat were evil and that eating 3 meals a day made you morally weak?
Yeah. Enter, surprise, surprise, colonialism, capitalism, and a whole lot of patriarchy. One of the earliest roots of modern diet culture comes from the 1800s, when white Protestant men, like the 19th century's own Sylvester Graham of graham cracker fame, and John Harvey Kellogg, the man who invented cornflakes, started linking food deprivation to moral purity. I'm literally not making that up.
What?
So, yeah, and I don't know, graham crackers, I don't think they're the absolute staunchness of health, but here we go. But these men fully believed that a bland, plant-based diet was essential for moral purity, and that curbing sinful desires like lust, which they then saw linked to rich foods, meats, and spices.
Which, what? That's racist.
Yeah,
how?
Very racist. You don't like
what
spicy
kind of
foods?
Plants are in, I guess, flour. What
plants
are in?
Just grains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was essentially if they saw other folks eating, like a curry, that's oh, that's bad, that's lustful. But it's also very...
Because it's good.
It tastes
Anything that
good.
tastes good is the
butter,
sin.
good.
Anything good is the sin. Makes sense.
Exactly. So anyways, so then we fast forward to the early 1900s and you've got women's magazines promoting calorie counting and quote unquote ladylike thinness. But it goes deeper. According to Dr. Sabrina Strings in her book, Fearing the Black Body, thinness became a way for white Europeans to distinguish themselves from black bodies.
Mm.
Fatness was seen as other, as inferior, an idea totally steeped in racism and white supremacy.
Even the idea of the ideal body has racist roots. So when we say diet culture, we're not just talking about juice cleanses. We're talking about a system that's being weaponized against certain bodies for centuries.
Right. And it wasn't until the 70s and 80s that feminist thinkers, thanks feminists, started to fight back. Susie Orbach wrote Fat is a Feminist Issue in 1978. She argued that women's obsessions with thinness wasn't natural, but something we were taught as a form of social control.
Right. And then Naomi Wolf took it further with The Beauty Myth in 1990. Right. She said that as women gained political power, beauty standards got even more extreme because the culture needed a way to keep us focused on our bodies instead of our power.
Yeah, keep women focused on what they look like. And that still feels very true today. The phrase diet culture started showing up more regularly in the early 2000s in eating disorder recovery spaces and body liberation circles. Evelyn Tribole, and I don't know if I'm saying her last name right, and Elise Resch helped define it in Intuitive Eating. This is the book's name, especially the 2012 and 2020 editions. And more recently, Christy Harrison, author of Anti-Diet, gave it one of its more quoted definitions. So I'm going to read that to you. Diet culture is a system of beliefs that worships thinness and equates it to a health and moral virtue. It demonizes certain ways of eating while elevating others and oppresses people who don't match its supposed picture of health.
A system of beliefs, that's what it is. Straight up. Another way we can discriminate against people who are different, right? It's not just your aunt on Weight Watchers. It's your doctor recommending weight loss before asking about your symptoms. It's the influencers selling detox tea. It's the preschooler who already knows that fat is an insult.
Right. And that's where capitalism walks in.
What better way to sell a product than to convince someone from a very young age that they were broken or they are broken and just need to be fixed?
Okay. And because we love stats and research, as always, and also love to ruin your day with them, here are a few terrifying numbers. And as always, the full sources are in our blog post for this episode.
So brace yourself. This part is not super uplifting.
So first, in Canada, nearly 1 in 2 girls aged 10 to 14, that's 49%, have already tried to lose weight. That's before they've even finished growing.
Before they even hit puberty fully.
Yeah.
By age 17, 80% of girls say they're dissatisfied with their bodies. That's 17.
And here's one that really wrecks me. More than half of Canadian girls say that they wish they were someone else. And that's not just insecurity, that's really an identity crisis. And that comes from the Canadian Women's Foundation.
And it starts even younger than you think. These show that 40% of 9-year-old girls have already been on a diet.
I don't even know if you've been through puberty. Maybe you started puberty and you're already trying to change what you look like. Yeah. And here's what's really scary is that eating disorders have the second highest mortality rate of any psychiatric illness, right behind opioid use disorder.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's actually true. I can think of a lot of people in my life, especially in their early teens, who had eating disorders.
Yeah.
And you see it, I felt like I saw it a lot more. I mean, I don't know a lot of teen girls right now, but back in the day, name at least a handful.
Yeah.
Zooming in a bit, right here in Saskatchewan, hospitalizations related to eating disorders have spiked since the pandemic, especially among youth. The Saskatchewan Health Authority has reported a sharp increase in teens and preteens needing inpatient care for disordered eating since 2020.
So yeah, the numbers, they're heavy. And I mean, they should be, because we're not just talking about body image issues. We're talking about a public health crisis that starts when girls are still in elementary school, or I mean, even younger.
And here's the thing, we're not powerless. Yes, the system is broken and there are people out there doing real, hopeful, unfiltered work to help rebuild it, starting with our bodies, our beliefs, and how we move through the world.
Which brings us to our guest today, someone who has lived through the pressure, the performative side of fitness, and came out the other side with a new mission to help people ditch the shame, trust their bodies, and get strong on their own terms.
Welcome, Erika Tkatchuk. I got that right. Welcome to the Scaries. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
of course. And so we're going to get back today, as we talked about earlier in the episode, we're going to pick apart the dusty remains of diet culture and that give us some muscle back truth bombs. So we're really excited to dig into Erica's story and hear all about all her dusty truth bombs that she's going to share.
I
Oh,
can't
there's some
wait.
Dusty.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm just going to share a little bit of a bio. You know who you are. We know who you are, but maybe not everyone else knows who you are. So I'm just going to share a little bit more about you to kind of ground you in and ground our conversation, what we're going to be talking about. So Erika is a personal trainer, a nutritionist, an athlete, a mom, a business owner, and a retired fitness model. Just a few things.
Mhm.
She and her husband co-own a very successful gym, Trench. I'm going to shout it out, where she coaches clients in strength training, nutrition, and sustainable lifestyle change. After retiring from the fitness modeling world, Erika shifted her focus to empowering everyday individuals with simple, effective strategies that fit real life. Her mission is to help people get strong, feel confident, and build habits that they can maintain for the long haul. And we are super excited for this conversation. I know we're going to have lots to say.
Yes, sirree. Okay. So we're going to, before we get into the nitty gritty questions, the serious ones, we are going to, we always start off with some rapid fire questions. So these are just to get you loose and,
All right.
feel
They're always hard.
They're always very serious,
Yeah.
but don't have to
Sweating.
be if you don't want them to be. Okay. Rapid fire number 1. If you could grant one wish to all women, what would it be?
I wish that all women would lift weights.
I like
Ooh.
it.
Stop.
I've never heard
So I
that
guess
one
a lot
before.
of that is dependent on what you have access to. But if I could do like wave my magic wand, I would wish that every single woman could lift weights.
Incredible.
I love it.
I love it.
And I know we're learning about menopause and perimenopause and all these things as we eventually get into that, because I
Yes.
feel like that's an unspoken thing and it's such an important piece we hear as you age, always,
absolutely.
but especially as we age. So
I'd love to
never
train
aware.
your little sweaty selves.
Yes. Well, yes, we should sign up.
Actually,
Like,
yeah,
well, probably
let's
should.
go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. Okay, what about the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That I can only control what I can control. And I can't control other people. I can't control things that come into my life, but I can control how I react to said things.
Short and sweet and deep too. That reminds me of the book
Yeah.
Let Them,
Yes.
or Let Them,
Totally.
right? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. It's called. Just like let them. You can only control you.
Yeah. And I think like as a mom, as a coach, as a friend, you can only control what you can control.
Right.
it's really hard as like a control freak to let that go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very good.
I think that's why that person gave me the advice, because it was like, you got to calm down, Erica. You got to control that.
Can't control everyone at all times.
It's hard
No.
to, especially for someone like you who wears so many hats. Like you do so many things.
Yeah.
That sometimes if you let go of the control, it's like something's going to drop, or like, it's almost like a time prioritization. You just have to be able to get
Yeah.
things done because you have so much time in your day and you're juggling so many balls. So that control piece can easily creep up on you because you just have to be so methodical with everything you do. But
Yeah. And there's just so
Yeah.
many people dependent on me.
yes,
So that is definitely the control piece there.
for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Take and unpack that one all day. Okay, last question. What is your scary? So what keeps you up at night?
I think it kind of ties into the other scary, and it's like not being present enough. So, in the midst of trying to control all the things and trying to do all the things, am I being present? Am I listening? Am I behaving in a way that people deserve me to behave? And I think that that keeps me up a lot of the time, especially as a mom, because when you're doing all the things, it's hard to know that you're being the person that your kids deserve.
I feel like I really reflect on that a lot, like lately, just because like I have thrown myself back into so much. And then I'm like, who is benefiting from me being so busy and like filling my schedule with so many things? And it's like, I mean, everyone else is benefiting, but like my family is not. I'm tired and I'm not. And so, yeah, it's a very good reflection of like, you can't give from and can't pour.
Yeah. And it's like, obviously, I'm afraid of social media. I'm afraid of a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of things. But the things that keep me up at night is whether or not I did the very best that I could to be there for the people that depend on me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a very, I mean, that's a good thing that keeps you up, It's hopefully. You can I think
These
you're doing
wrinkles don't agree with you.
yeah. Okay, fair. Fair. Okay.
Mm.
So let's talk about what we came here to talk about. So Sky and I had kind of already shared about our experience in, the 90s diet culture, 90s, 2000s, millennial era diet culture that I think shaped I would say most women, but probably most just anybody kind of coming up in that age, is if you're susceptible to the things that you see. So you grew up in the same era that we did. What kind of 90s diet trends did you experience or internalize or like really make your personality?
Okay, so I feel like when I was little, I grew up in a very wholesome home where nothing was off limits. So my mom was never on a diet. I was never exposed to diet culture in the sense that my mom, and I saw that in my family. So I was very fortunate to not see it from a very young age, but I think it came a little bit differently for me, and that was being someone so new to strength training. I
Mm,
started lifting weights in high school, and that was very abnormal for girls to do in the 2004, 2006. So I think the 90s trend that I really had to grapple with was that strength training makes you bulky and that I'm gonna look like a man if I lift weights. And then,
mhm.
of course, once I got into bodybuilding and stuff like that, it was like the low fat, the Special K diet, the reading Oxygen magazine and doing everything that you see in different magazines. So I think I more so fell victim to those things versus the stuff in pop culture because I've always kind of been a grungy punk rock metalhead, and I've never really gotten on with the pop music where a lot of my
Mm,
peers are like, oh, I'm gonna be like Britney Spears and I'm going to eat what she does. I know a lot of people were influenced by Victoria's Secret models, and I'm going to do the
mhm.
Victoria's Secret diet, where for me, it was more so in the sport capacity and not necessarily pop culture.
Very interesting.
I think even the strength piece. Well, I think once I realized that like lifting weights, now that was not in my high school years, that was like much later, on that you can lift weights and that actually like makes you lean and like muscle is
Mhm.
good for like not even just like your bodily functions, but like for aging and for like I
Yes.
have back issues. And so it's like
Yeah.
having abdominal muscles is actually good for like supporting your back and like different things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that even like and like talking about to our kids, when we talk about like working out or like mummy's going to the gym or whatever it is, it's like mummy's going to like get clear her head and mummy's going to go and like feel really good afterwards. And it's not about like
Mhm.
looking a certain way or it's like about feeling a certain
Yeah, I have to tell you a really funny thing about my oldest.
way. Okay.
She has grown up in the gym, and for the longest time, because I always taught classes with females, I taught classes with moms, I've always personal trained predominantly women. My daughter thought that it was only women that lifted weights.
Oh,
She was
I
like,
love
I
that.
love that.
Dad looks like different. He does powerlifting, but like if you're gonna go to the gym and you're gonna get strong, it's only for girls. And
Mm,
then I thought, like, that is such a unique paradox to grow up with.
totally.
Like, imagine how different we would be if we grew up thinking that only girls were strong, only girls pulled heavy deadlifts. It
Yeah.
would completely revolutionize the whole millennial culture.
Yeah.
For sure. I
It
love
would.
that.
That would
Yeah.
entirely change we wouldn't be doing this, that's for sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. No.
And I think the biggest thing to remember when it comes to getting over the 90s dieting culture is that your body's basically filled with little suitcases, and muscle provides a bigger suitcase. So the more muscle you have, the more food that can fit into your suitcase.
Hmm.
So that's why you have to lift weights so that you're able to consume more calories and therefore live a more balanced lifestyle. So I think I was kind of one of the pioneers as women to approach diet in that way. But I was definitely a victim to how strength training can make you bulky and how you need to take up the least amount of space as possible to be a desirable, successful woman, especially in the female space. Because it was
Mm.
like you were either hot and ripped or you were like not taken seriously as a personal trainer.
Mhm.
Right, and
Yeah.
specifically as a personal trainer as well, like in your whole field of work, like people judge a book by its cover.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't think like being thin is not which I know we're gonna get into, but like being thin is not like you are healthy and having extra weight on your body is not you are unhealthy. Like it's not black and
Totally.
white.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think understanding that and like being okay with that as well, because that I think is something that we have to unlearn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just have to say this because it's in my brain. I feel like you and I were very like we went to high school together, so we're thinking that era. We would be in all the spaces where men would be. Like, we'd be on SRC, we'd be, doing all the clubs, doing all the sports and different things. But when it comes to I don't think I ever registered that like weights. I think I did, but I never thought like women should be in that space necessarily. I'm the one who took all the like go to the girls only side
Exactly.
of Gold's Gym and take
Mhm.
the classes only that had women in them. Like I just didn't like probably because I didn't like to be looked at. Like I didn't want to have like pressure when I'm
Mhm.
working out and wanting to actually work hard and I don't want a guy staring at me.
Mhm.
But I don't think I thought about it really until now that that's such a big space that women should be, largely aren't, and it affects us in a
Mhm.
huge way. And so why aren't we trying to be in those spaces? And yeah, anyway, that was an
Yeah.
epiphany I had in my brain that I'm like, oh,
It's really interesting that you'd say that because the equipment that was in the ladies only area was always emulated off of curves and it's
mm,
approaching different clientele. So when women are coming to the gym, they're women that are wanting to put on some muscle, that are wanting to clear their head, they're wanting to become a better version of themselves. And it was based off of exercise equipment that is done predominantly by elderly people.
yeah,
So already we are at a disadvantage going to those sections of the gym. And I'm a very goal oriented person. So to me, it was like, why am I doing the same workout as my grandma? Like this is
fair.
this is it. So then I would like slowly just like take some dumbbells and go to a little quiet corner where no one was at. So that I could like do the thing, but not actually be in the thing. You know what I mean? So it was interesting. It was
Yeah,
definitely a
very
male
interesting.
dominated space that very, very few women were engaged with.
Yes, that's very true.
Did
Yeah.
you do curves? I did curves with my mom when I was like
Right.
12 and she was
And
40
there's
or
like, it's all on hydraulics.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I never did curves, but as you were saying, talking about like joining like school like clubs and all that kind of stuff, I was on the wrestling team for I think exactly 2
I think I
practices.
was too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I'm tall and like I am muscular. I danced forever, and so like I have really thick thighs and like I have a sturdy base to me. And I would wrestle with my brothers, like my 2 older brothers. And so my dad was like, "You would be so good at this. Like you should get in there." And I loved it. But then like a boy that I liked was like, "On the wrestling team?"
Mm.
Immediately I was like, I don't want to be seen as strong. I need to be a waif. I need to disappear. I like, like it's just all of those conditioning things. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's which like I think I would have been real damn good at wrestling if I would have
Mhm.
kept up with it. But
100%. Yeah.
anyways, sorry. We're like having all of these
On to the
like
next
life
question.
it's been 5 minutes. Like okay.
Okay, let's stay
Ah,
focused.
question. So we know you work in fitness in many capacities, but your approach is different. And you shared a little bit, and I love the suitcase analogy, and I'm totally remembering that
Mhm.
and using that with my kids. So, what makes your approach, whether it was back in when you're just getting started in your fitness career and your training career, how has it changed over time as you learned? And what is kind of your philosophy around diet and
Okay,
exercise and wellness?
so I went from being a very competitive, very high level dancer to being a very competitive, very high level professional fitness model. And so when I first started exercising, it was predominantly for aesthetics. It was all about how I looked, how dedicated I was, how perfect I could be, and how desirable I could be, specifically for the sport of bodybuilding, but also just like so people liked me. Because
Mhm.
oftentimes when you look a certain way, people want to be your friend, they want to be in a relationship with you. So I definitely did fitness as a perfectionist, wanting people just to like me. And then as I became a mom and as I did more sport versus aesthetic training, I realized that health isn't about restriction, it's about strength, it's about sustainability, it's about nourishment, it's about role modeling behaviors that I wish I would have done 10 years ago. I've been doing this since 2004. So that's like 20 years of
Mhm.
sets and reps. And I feel like my experience with doing it for aesthetics was it allows me to be the person I am now to help people that are still looking for a goal weight, people that are still training for an aesthetic. And there's a place for that. There definitely is. But I think there's no long game in that. The long game is with strength, it is with sustainability, and it is with just learning how to nourish your body.
I think that's an absolutely incredible approach and such a obviously different take than, again, what things that we've grown up in. I think even just like looking at your social media and like seeing how you post and knowing that you have 3 young girls that you are raising, when you post about like the like quick meals or like the like incredible chocolate chip muffins that you're making, or like things that are still like, you're not like making your children eat like dried berries or like, I don't,
Chicken, rice, and vegetables every meal of every
like
day. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm obviously not in your kitchen and your house, but from what you share on social media and like what I've seen is that like they are really, really sweet children who are enjoying the experience of like experiencing food, and that like food is nourishment and food is like fun. And
Mhm.
like if you eat really good vegetables, then that, or like and eat good proteins, and like you're gonna have more energy to do fun
Mhm.
things versus it being
Mhm.
like your waist is gonna be so itty bitty. And yeah.
Yeah. The one way that we talk about food with our kids is food is fuel. So they'll
Mhm.
have Gatorade, like a full sugar Gatorade, but it's training fuel. They'll have candy because they need it to train. So using it as a way to catalyst sport is a really good way to approach those sometimes foods. Because I think we can kind of, as parents, get into trouble when it's like, we're going to eat really healthy. And then on the weekends, we're going to have pizza. We're going to have this. We're going to have this. We're going to go to a birthday party and you're going to completely lose control because you don't know how to eat a freaking cupcake.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's a
Yeah.
huge problem. And I feel like when people fear monger their children with their nutrition, it can create some really dangerous things that last a lifetime.
Well, and I think it almost like overcorrects to the point of like you're trying to go like, we're only gonna eat good foods, and then like, well, like what is a bad food? And like, and I don't want to have to answer that question of like what a
Yeah.
bad food is. So I talk about like, yeah, like I try to use that language, I think, just because it is such a mind shift. But it's like, for me, I have to like really think about it. Like it's not like second nature as much. So yeah, it's so like lovely to, which I learn a lot from watching your social media, just to see kind of like, what are you feeding your kids? Because my kid will only eat this.
I know. Yeah.
And I feel like social media is dangerous in that regard because you see a kid
Oh,
that's
yeah.
eating broccoli, for example, and you're like, man, I wish that my kid would eat broccoli. And it's like, what food is food? Like, just
Yeah.
eat some shredded cheese and move on with your day.
Yeah. Are you feel
All kids
satisfied?
just live off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of tension around food, that's when it's not fun. And that's when kids develop really bad eating habits.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. So before we got on with you, Skylar and I were talking about kind of like the diet culture again that we grew up in, and like what happened for now these like overcorrections that sometimes we're seeing. And for a period of time, there was this lovely like everyone's body is beautiful, and I mean, I think that it's always, the negative part has always existed, but I felt like it was a little bit more body positive. Now I think that we've gone back into like this diet culture is thriving in our new digital age where like everything is based on how you look again. Again, social media is like really, I think, helping us perpetuate that
Mhm.
notion.
Mhm.
But why do you think that, like, just in your own opinion, what you're seeing with clients, what you're seeing with the work that you do, why do you think that diet culture continues to thrive, kind of, or like this mentality continues to thrive, especially in this digital age?
I think that in this digital age, it's our fault because what you give attention to is what thrives. I don't engage with a lot of social media. I think that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we have no business judging other women. If a woman suffers from extreme loss and she loses body weight, we're like, oh, I feel so bad for you. You're clearly mentally unwell. I'm so sorry that you're doing this to your body. We have no idea what's going on with other
Hmm.
people. And I think as a professional, as someone who has suffered eating disorders, I feel like we just aren't in a place to judge other people with what we see in digital media. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to ourselves because, of course, that causes the whole comparison spiral. And it's grounded in essentially nothing. It could be filtered. It could be fake. It could be clickbait. The internet is so fake right now. There's really no sense in judging anything or having any
Mhm.
sort of feelings about it.
Yeah. Period.
Is there often with the ladies that you're working with right now, is there a common theme or a common kind of trend that you're seeing or that you're trying to undo or that's most prevalent that with the people that you're working with or that you've kind of come across lately? Like this
I think it's
Ozempic trend seems to be a big one.
yes.
All these like, pills seem to be
Yeah.
so easy. It's such a
Like the
quick
magic
fix now,
pill.
right? Yeah, what are you seeing?
Again, because I'm a dinosaur in this industry, it's always the same. Like there's always going to be something. It's going to be Ozempic. It's going to be peptides. It's going to be fasting. It's going to be
Mhm.
Shmarbon. I'm not going to say the real word,
Yeah, don't
but
say it.
it's going to be a way to make money. It's going to be a way to keep women unsatisfied with themselves. And I'm just not about it. So when
Yeah.
people try to engage with that, I just kind of shudder, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Ozempic is a medical choice, a choice that people are entitled to make. It's none of my business. I
Mhm.
feel like what people are selling on the internet, that is their prerogative, not mine. I choose not to consume. If someone comes to me and they ask me a direct question, what do you think about XYZ? I will give
Mhm.
them my opinion. But again, it's not my advice. I'm not a medical doctor. I can't say this is what you should do personally. But the trend that I'm seeing right now is actually really exciting. I'm
Yeah.
seeing women that are excited to lift weights, women that are completely overjoyed with hitting a big PR, a woman that has never strength trained before, but she listened to a TED talk about how muscle's good for aging. So I think when you look at social media, yes, there's that part that's dark and scary and skinny and their collarbones are sticking out. But there's also this part of the internet that's really beautiful that people are like, yeah, I have huge shoulders and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have a six pack, but I have a great butt. And that's what we're going to celebrate. And so it's hard to say because I feel like diet culture is slowly shifting, but there's always going to be those negative people that pick out the parts that are kind of shitty.
Well, and we had talked about this before you came on, but it's that the people who win in this is like the marketing, the capitalism of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
buy this product, now you got to buy these pants and then you have to buy this thing and then you got to
yeah,
spend on this thing. Like it's always just like the
yeah.
marketing and the capitalism of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like when people come to me and they're brand new to training and they're like, you know what, Erica, I don't have a ton of money. What do you think I should do? And I'll tell them you need to go to Canadian Tire and buy some dumbbells, go on ChatGPT, find a program, and just do this program until you have the means to do something different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be such a salesy thing.
Right.
It's
Totally.
people's health, it's people's longevity. And I'm just like so over people looking for those quick fixes because there really is no quick fix. Those exact same people will come back to me in 6 months and be like, so I can't afford Ozempic. Like, what do you think about peptides? What do you think about intermittent fasting? And I'm like, I think you just need to lift some weights and eat a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
I feel like one thing that I recently learned is that how, like, specifically around nutrition, and this could be around working out as well, but when you're on certain parts of your cycle and as you age, like, and your hormones change, there's different needs. Your body needs different things.
Mhm.
You may be stronger when you're on your period or whatever it is. So, like, when you work with clients, and you build nutrition plans specifically or work, personal training plan, do you build that in, like knowing that you are a woman and that, those different hormonal changes impact you in different ways? Is that part of your approach at all?
So I think it's multifactorial. I have a very strong personality, and nothing, including my period, will tell me when I can and cannot.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna pretty woman that shit, and I'm gonna do what I want when I want, especially as it pertains to me moving my body. And so the science doesn't necessarily support that when you're in your follicular, you need to do this. If you download any of those apps, it's like, oh, you might be feeling down today, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I'm feeling kind of down. Like I should maybe just do yoga or go for a walk.
Yeah.
When it's like you could be missing a great part of your program where you're periodized to just like hit a big PR. So I think a lot of it comes down to people's personality types. And when I'm working with clients and they have that sort of personality type, sure, let's incorporate some of that because it's going to have them see that consistency over time. It's
Mhm.
going to have them see those little wins. So they're like, no, I wasn't really feeling up to it because I had a really heavy period, but I was able to do this low intensity workout and I feel successful and I'm going to be
Right.
consistent because I feel successful. So I think the period stuff is more personality founded than scientifically founded. And it's just a matter of getting to know someone. So because I went so long without having a period, I love having my period. It tells me that I'm healthy. It tells me that I'm vital. It tells me that everything in my body is working as it should.
It actually is, yeah, such an indicator of health. And I remember like in high school there
It's
was
like you're scared about it. I used to like,
yeah.
how could I not get this? But now
Yeah.
it's like, if I don't, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, something's happening.
And
Yeah.
it's funny, like my kids are just jacked for it. They're like, "Oh, when
Yeah.
do I get my period?" I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you wait, girl, it's coming for you."
Yeah. Coming for you. And then you're
Yeah.
gonna be like a lot of time.
If you are healthy and if you live a healthy lifestyle, your period's really not that bad. If you sleep, if you eat well, provided there's no medical underlying
Yeah.
issue, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Like it's not hard. Girls do it. Just kidding.
Yeah, for centuries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for centuries.
exactly.
We've just been bleeding while we, do podcasts. It's fine.
Yeah.
My next question then is, what is one diet myth that you wish could, and like maybe it's like diet or nutrition or like health myth that you wish you could permanently banish from the planet forever?
Carbs make you fat.
Love it. Tell me more. Unpack that.
I
mean, they don't.
remember when I did my first bodybuilding prep, I wasn't allowed to have any fruit. I wasn't allowed to have any, like, really anything other than rice, beef, chicken, vegetables. And it's just perpetuated still to this day where people will come to me, they're like, "Oh, I have an apple before bed, but it's like high in fiber, so I feel like it's okay." And it's like, it's carbs. Your body requires carbs to function. It requires it to perform. It's just a myth that should die.
Yeah.
Also, people like, especially fasting for women, I feel like there's so many myths in the fitness industry that just, it's not good.
It's not good. I feel like my best understanding of carbs and like fat and everything, my husband is diabetic. And so like he's type 1 diabetic. And so understanding like how his body manages fat and carbs and all of that has been like very enlightening for me to be like, your brain needs sugar. Like it doesn't work without sugar, and carbs often can provide you that sugar that it needs. Like that's like how it breaks it down. Anyways, just like interesting things like that of like, again, food is fuel, and like not necessarily like the easy translation of like, and even fat being bad as well for you. Like, yeah.
I think that a lot of people that like us have grown up with good foods and bad foods. It creates almost like a binge mentality where they're like, "Oh my God, I really want a bagel," but a bagel has like 50 grams of carbs. I'll blow my numbers out of the water. Then they'll have a bagel and then they'll be like, "My day's ruined." And then they'll have all of these other high carb foods because they've been depriving themselves with that. And so it just creates that scarcity mindset that causes people to continue to binge, causes
Yeah.
people to have those disordered views around food. And so if you were to just add a little bit more carbohydrate into your baseline diet, it creates just such a good balanced way to consume calories.
And honestly, just like a piece of toast with like butter on it just slaps, It's
Right?
just like it satisfies everything that you needed in that moment for me,
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
And I feel like food should never be on a pedestal. And as soon as you have that one, like
Yeah.
carbohydrates make up an entire spectrum of our diet. And if you cut those too drastically, that's all you're going to be thinking about.
Yeah.
And it's just such wasted bandwidth for your brain to
Right.
always be thinking about foods.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
You're speaking to someone who's like a recovering keto person. So I love that you said that, because for the past, like, I've had kids in like every other year for the past like 5 years. So I haven't really been on my keto game. But keto, obviously, as we know, is a big piece of cutting carbs, right? Very low carbs. And it honestly, it worked for me. Like, I lost weight easily on keto. And I remember really getting into it when I got married, because that was like the pivotal of like working out, looking good for your wedding pictures. So that brings us to our next question. For those of us who are recovering keto addicts or other, whatever it may be, who want to start healing their relationship with food, what advice would you give?
So I think that there is some medical basis for being on a ketogenic diet. If you have epilepsy or if there's anything like craniologically, there is like scientific proof that is a very effective diet. So if there's anyone listening that is in that camp, like that's definitely something that is medically supported. But if you're doing any sort of extreme diet, and I would consider keto to be an extreme diet in so that you can change your body composition, you were doing it completely wrong. Because as soon as you take too much out, you're left with very little, and it's too extreme to sustain over a long period of time. So for people like Skylar that have been in that dieting cycle, what I would recommend is to learn how to track your calories. So when you can see in a calculator where your food is coming from, how much of everything that you have, it makes it much easier to adjust the variables. Food tracking can lead to extreme dieting. It can lead to obsessive tendencies, but it is a really good tool for figuring out what your body needs and how you can nourish your body.
I did.
So that's what I would say.
I've done food track. Well, not recently, but back when in my wedding days, I remember doing all of those things, like all the macros and the, putting into my fitness pal and all of that. And honestly, what really took me away from keto is because my cholesterol went through the roof. So while I lost all this weight, you're drinking so much fat, right? And protein. And I actually already have high cholesterol as it is. So, but when I went to my physical, she's like, this is weird. You're like cholesterol is wild, but you're not like big. This is what's going on. And I was like, well, it runs in my family. So I was like, I probably should skim off on the keto for a bit, which I have. But yeah, all of those factors, right? Everyone's different and has different predispositions to different things. And so long term, and also it's not since I've had kids, obviously not a sustainable, like all we eat is like spaghetti and rice and like all of the carbs. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't
And I
eat
always
it.
say too, what you do consistently matters more than what you do intensely.
Well, you are, as you said, a mom and a business owner. How do you model that body neutrality or self-compassion for your kids?
Hey, so my oldest was in an activity and she was doing some testing and there was some really subjective things. And I asked her, like, how does this make you feel? So one of them was like points for being cute. One of them was like overall appearance, like, did you do this? Did you not do this? And I was like, how does it make you feel any sort of way? And she's like, no, not really. But what does make me feel a certain way is that I noticed like all the bigger girls that don't look like me are kind of in the back and they have to sit down a lot. And I don't, it doesn't make sense and it doesn't seem fair. So I actually did some self reflection and I was like, you know what? I wonder if I would have been a kid that was in sports and not a kid that was in dance, if I would have grown up looking at my body for what it could do and not what it could look like. So I asked her, I'm like, you know what, with said activity, do you want to like, let's take a summer to try absolutely everything. So she did volleyball, she did track, she did all of the sports. And I said, like, how do these things make you feel compared to the activity that you had been doing for essentially your entire life? And she was like, you know what, mom, I think it's cool that when you do a sport, you are judged based off what you do. It's not based off of cutie marks. It's not based off of what someone thinks. It's based off of what I can physically do. And I was like, we're going to go with that. And I think even for myself, going from fitness to marathons has really changed the way that I feel my body, that I appreciate my body, and that I kind of live that lifestyle. So with my children, I really try to focus on what they can do and not what they look like because she's 9. Her friends will wear makeup. They have cell phones. It is a wild time, let me tell you.
I'm scared. What grade is 9? Grade 4, 3?
Grade 4. Yeah, grade
4. Oh
4.
my gosh.
That's scary. That's too soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. For you guys that have littles that are going to go into activities, something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think that's such a great point of like, you're not in a body to show it off. Like you use your body for an outcome. And that's what that's the purpose of this
Yeah.
activity is
Yeah.
to build skills in that area versus just to look pretty.
Yeah.
But
And I
it's,
think that it can be to showcase creativity, can
Mhm.
be to exemplify different parts of your personality, but it should be for your pleasure and not for the pleasure of others and what they deem
Totally.
as aesthetic. I
Yeah.
think, like I said earlier, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I will never put my children in situations, whether that be activities or in social situations, where they feel like they need to prove themselves based off of what someone thinks that they should or should not do.
Yeah. Yes, sirree. Snaps. I think like I have a daughter and I have a son, and I'm expecting another son soon here. I think one thing And I've always been pretty, my mom is like someone who talks a lot about weight. My family always has, and I was a bigger kid growing up. And so this is like a sore spot for me, is like that, just like when someone points out weight, because it's just always been something in my life. But so for my daughter, like I'm very aware of it. And for my son too, like both, it goes both ways, right? But sometimes I slip up and I'm like, shoot, I shouldn't have said that. And it's not about them, it's about me. Like I'm looking in the mirror, I'm putting on my makeup. Like today, my daughter's like, why are you putting on makeup? I'm like, actually, I don't know. I'm working from home. Like, why am I putting on makeup? And she's
Mhm.
like, can I have some? I'm like, oh, sure. Why not? Like, I don't care. Like, it's just rouge or whatever. But,
Mhm.
the littlest things. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, why did I do that? Like, why? I shouldn't have said that about myself. Or, I have this big pregnant belly right now. And my daughter's like, oh, well, like, is the baby still grown big? Like, what's happening in there? And like asking me all these questions and like
Mhm.
really comparing me to other
Yeah.
moms that don't have a belly. And, and I say things, I'm like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have said that. So, do you have any advice for some kind of like, I don't know, ways to address, and it shouldn't just be if you have kids. Should be in
Mhm.
regardless of little ones around you. But how to model that self-compassion. Like are there any kind of mantras you keep in mind or things that you think of for yourself that kind of obviously will then rub off on your kids as well or those around you?
I refuse to engage with things that don't bring me pleasure. So I don't often wear jeans because jeans look terrible on me. I feel like they don't suit my personality. I find it hard to find ones that fit me. They either make me look like a toilet paper roll or like I'm wearing stilts. So it's not a vibe. So I refuse to wear them because I know as soon as I put those pants on, it's going to be like, oh, wow, hey there, giraffe. So I don't do it. I don't wear a ton of makeup ever because don't really know how to do it. And I don't feel like myself. And I feel like I've done so much personal work that it would be a huge disservice to myself to try to look like someone else.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just it's really important to just figure out who you are and what makes you happy
Yeah.
and then just go with that. I have a friend who has short hair because she loves to wear scarves. Like that's just like a beautiful thing that she does for herself. And
I
I
love
think
that.
we just need to have our own fashion, our own
Yeah.
essence, and just go with it, you know?
Yeah. Do what
Yeah.
Like
makes
if
you
I were to
happy.
roll up with like a winged eyeliner, it would be like, are you going to a dance competition? I'm
Yeah.
not all of a sudden going to be doing those things because it doesn't make me happy. It takes time I don't have. And I think just being true to yourself and what actually makes you happy is
Mm-hmm.
the best fashion statement that you could have.
Definitely.
Love it.
Yeah. Be you. I'm just going to veer off real quick for 1 second, but we haven't talked about the fact that you are actually an inventor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've invented something, and you've invented Little Mac diapers, which
Hmm.
is insane. I don't even know how I would even start to go about manufacturing something. So,
Hmm.
can you tell us a little bit about that? And then also how that side of your work kind of ties into like accepting yourself and loving yourself and all that sort of thing? Because
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're related in some way.
Okay, so becoming a mom shifted obviously everything for me as parents realize. And so creating Lil Mac Diaper was a way for me to support other parents that are going through the same thing. So when I had my first child, I was really unsure of pretty much everything that required being a parent. So I was like unsure of like these blowouts that she had all the time and all of these like really annoying things that kind of made parenting not fun. So I couldn't obviously invent something to make her stop crying, but like the poop thing was really, it wasn't good. And
Mm.
she had blowouts all the time. And so I was putting on my exercise pants and I was like, what's pretty awesome is these pants that come up high and they just like hold everything in. And I got to thinking, like, I wonder if you could have a diaper that did something similar. So we took a diaper, we basically turned it into Lululemon pants, and it just like keeps everything inside the diaper. So I worked with a developer and a manufacturing company. We had that going. And the really cool thing that came from that was other parents that are using the product were like, you know what? Like, it just makes me feel more confident to take my baby on a vacation, to take my
Mm-hmm.
baby out in public because one less thing that I have to worry about.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of ties together with wanting to make moms feel empowered, wanting moms to feel confident, and just allowing people to feel like they have the capacity to care for others. Because I
Yeah.
think that when you are able to care for others, it requires you to care about yourself just a little bit.
It does.
Totally.
And again, you can't pour from an empty cup. So
Mm-hmm.
like you're doing something for yourself by getting Mac diapers. Okay, to wrap us up, what gives you hope for the next generation and breaking free from diet culture?
I think children are getting, especially girls, are getting more into sports. I think that when little girls grow up with moms like us that are confident, that have hobbies, that have community, they are growing up with a model of how to be confident. And when you are confident in yourself and in your abilities, you're less likely to look for external validation on how you should look, on how you should move, on how you should carry out your life. So I think we're just growing up with children that are more confident and more prepared to be themselves and face whatever comes their way.
I love that. And very reassuring. You hear so many people are like, you're having another kid. Why would you want to bring a kid into this world? Like, there's so many problems. But that's such a refreshing perspective of like, okay, well, this next generation is going to do amazing things. So that's why I'm bringing this kid into the world, because we need these kids and their mindset and their confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when we collaborate and do the camp in the summer with Big Brothers Big Sisters, there's so many people that are like 20-something-year-olds that are volunteering their time and they are, doing things in their community. So I wasn't doing that when I was in my 20s. I was like drinking and doing drugs. I wasn't helping my community at all. I was like the opposite of community outreach. So I think we see a lot more people, and it's a lot more mainstream for people to just be more kind to themselves and to others.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Erika. This was such a nice discussion.
Totally. A little trip down memory lane. Very
know.
relatable. Thank you for sharing. Oh, I love Erika. She's so real,
good.
so honest. Like, I love her point about being yourself, because she totally is. So
she is. She's
a hero
living it.
sure. So what can we actually do to break free from this diet culture monster that lives rent-free in our heads still to this day?
Yeah, well, we have a few ideas. Obviously, Erika has gone through some, but we'll just touch on a couple. One, I mean, Erika said it herself. She doesn't even engage in social media. But this point is curate your feed. So unfollow toxic diet accounts, follow body positive accounts, or call in folks who are posting things that are toxic or that could perpetuate diet culture in a negative way.
Totally. Actually, I just have to say this. One of my favorite influencers that I found, I think on my first mat leave, was the Bird's Papaya.
Oh, yeah.
She really highlights, postpartum bodies. And, your body obviously doesn't look the same after you have a baby. Not always. Sometimes it does maybe. But I just love her stuff. Just got to give her a shout out.
Yeah.
Another thing is just calling out the crap. Challenge, earn your food talk, intervene when a friend moralizes their lunch. Just say, come on.
Yeah. The good and bad foods, just stop that as well.
Model new behavior, especially if you're around young people. Don't talk about your body like it's a project. Talk about what it can do, how it can take you places, and how grateful you are for having the body that you have.
Yeah. It's definitely a little blessing that we have.
And above all, remember, food is not a moral issue, and your worth is not determined by your weight.
No, health looks different on everyone, and being kind to your body is actually a very revolutionary act. So with that, thank you for being here today as we confronted these terrifying but very real life statistics about diet culture and its impact on women and girls.
Please share this episode, rate and subscribe wherever you're listening. And we've got more truth bombs and real talk coming your way soon.
Yeah, together we can make this world a little less scary for women and girls.
Follow us on Instagram at RaiseHERCo and at scaries.podcast, and on TikTok at RaiseHERCo. And remember that change starts with awareness and action.
Thank you for being part of the Scaries community and helping us smash the patriarchy one outdated trend at a time.
Bye.